Good morning and welcome to Resist First Media Briefing, focusing on digital solutions in climate adaptation. My name is Patricia Carbonell and I'm the communication lead of the Resist project. And we are organizing this event to bring together key experts in the field to provide an overview on how digital technology is contributing to addressing climate challenges. We also want to highlight some of the insights on the benefits and barriers of using digital twins for climate adaptation. Today, we have representatives from 3 European regions, including Catalonia, Central Denmark, and Vesterålen, and they will present case studies that have successfully implemented digital solutions. The idea is to create a short presentation from each of the speakers today, followed by a Q&A. So feel free to prepare your questions, share them in the chat. You can also follow the event on social media via the live stream on YouTube. You can also write your questions on LinkedIn or YouTube, and we will take them to the floor. So without further hesitation, we are going to start the session with Vilija, the Resist project coordinator, to present us what is Resist about and why we are here today. Welcome, Vilija. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vilija Volonytė-Merle. I work on Syntef Digital, and I am the Strategic Resist Project Coordinator. Today, we welcome you to this media briefing, and in my introduction, I will give you a high-level overview of Resist and digital solutions for climate adaptation within Resist. First, few words about why we work in this large-scale project. And if, Patricia, you would move to the next slide on why we work in this large-scale project. So first of all, climate change is already having a wide range of consequences for human health, the environment, and economies across Europe. It is here, and it will get only worse. Twin transition is needed to prepare for and adjust to both the current effects of climate change and the predicted impacts of the future. Personally, I was strongly affected by a flood on 4th October in 2015 in French Riviera. See my flood picture, actually where overnight I have lost all belongings because the water level in the flood raised above 1 meter. It was not even a decade ago. However, since then, the scenery has changed dramatically. Similar hazardous events have affected many Resist regions this year. And compared, these events are more severe and governments have far less resources to cope with the situation. This all leads to importance of Resist project vision and goals. Next slide, please, Patricia. So now Resist. What is Resist? Resist will strengthen the resilience, accelerate the transformation, and increase adaptive capacity of 12 climate vulnerable regions in Europe, implementing 4 large-scale demonstrators of resilient innovations with quintuple helix partnership and promote transfer of know-how and innovative solutions to 8 twin regions through both physical mutual learning activities and innovative immersive digital twins. Now, the large picture placed here explains the entire Resist concept. The activities in the regions take the central part in Resist, while the horizontal activities or 4 work packages, which are shown in the outward circle of the figure, will provide know-how from scientific, business, and societal perspectives to the climate vulnerable regions. Engagement of the entire stakeholders ecosystem is a key for scaling up the solutions. It is shown in the bottom right corner of the slide. So to achieve our Resist goals and impacts, a tight collaboration of all the actors is needed. So every actor can and must find their place in the Resist to scale up and sustain our work on a long run. Next slide. So this slide lists key impacts to be achieved within Resist. The challenges to be addressed: floods, droughts, heatwaves, wildfires, soil erosion, and the solutions proposed to address these challenges have been collected following a bottom-up approach. So the work to be conducted in Resist is very close to the hearts of the partners. One of the most important outcomes is more than 100 new and innovative solutions, adaptation products, regulations, policies, and methods to be validated in one sustainability plan. Next slide, please. Among these 100 solutions there are nature-based solutions, social innovation, engineering solutions. However, the digital solutions take a central part in the RESIST project. In 1 week from now, the consortium is going to gather in Oslo, Norway, where digital technologies will be showcased during a workshop. We call it Touch and Feel. The digital technologies overall increase a common understanding of both the possible effect of climate change and possible mitigation through climate change adaptation actions. It is also important to utilize this technology for collaboration between the stakeholders, for making better decisions in proposing climate resilient solutions, and for saving costs when implementing the planned actions. The consortium will showcase Gaia-Vesterålen Digital Twin and Augment City Digital Twin. The digital twin might be explained as an advanced copy of reality, where with the help of data, information from sensors and other data sources, and advanced mathematics, one can calculate what will happen and visualize this. The Augment City Digital Twin will be developed for all 12 RESIST regions, while Gaia-Vesterålen Digital Twin will be further developed in Vesterålen region in Norway. We will also get to know better Anywhere multi-hazard early warning system from Catalonia, which helps to better assess risks and improve emergency management. And then visualization augmented reality technology from Denmark, which will provide NBS infrastructure visualizations that would make us better prepared for storms and major rainfall events. You will hear much more about these technologies today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vilija. So let's continue with Joel Mills, CEO of Augment City, to explore more about these digital twins technologies in climate adaptation.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for being here. We're very excited to be part of this program, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about technology and digital twins. But it's not actually about digital twins and technology, it's about us as humans and how we can use this technology to help us to make better decisions and to really move forward with the solutions we want to for climate adaptation. So machines are amazing at processing data. They're getting better all the time. I think we're all getting a little bit scared about how fast and how good artificial intelligence really is. But it's still not as creative as we are as humans. I still believe we have the edge on the creative side. And what we want to do is we want to be able to bring that creative side, bring all these great ideas that everybody within all the different areas has, and actually test them at high speed and use machines to allow that to test. And today, it's not really natural. If you want to go into a machine world and start to test out scenarios and test out details, you've got to be a real techie and you've got to come in and you've got to be able to deal with all the programming. What we're trying to do is make these digital twins which really make it natural for us to be able to come into that world and work with that data in a much more natural way. We're looking here at creating digital twins of 3% of the EU territory. So this is a really large area. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the key leading regions. We're going to be creating digital twins for those. And then we're going to be creating digital twins for all of the partners behind that. And although we have many of these different places with slightly different issues and slightly different climate and slightly different focuses they're working with, from a technology side, we can share so much between them. And actually, even though we're bringing in different data, a lot of these problems, actually, if you go into the depths of it, they all interlink in so many ways. And so having a digital twin allows us to share and all work together and really speed up the process we can work with. If we can succeed with this, which I really honestly believe we can, then once we've done this, we can take these learnings and really scale it even further out and use this to really help to move forward with across not just Europe, but across the whole world with many, many cities together. So one of the key points I want to leave you with today and really want you to think about, and I'm really excited that we can welcome you up to Ålesund in Norway next week. I have to apologize already. I won't be able to be here because I'm at COP, but my team is going to really take care of you and it's going to be really exciting to have you all here. But one of the things I really want you to remember is humans understand data so much faster through visuals. They say it's 60,000 times faster humans understand data through visuals than we do through text. So bringing things into that natural way that we can really understand things is really, really important. So what we're doing is we're taking all that data, which all of these areas are already sitting with. They have so much data, and we're bringing it together into one visual world where we can overlay and augment complex systems and simulations directly on top of the real city, and we can all get a clear insight into what it's working with. And this is really the fundamental of what is a digital twin. It is a method for us to test out things at high speed and understand things in a way that us humans can work with and interact with in high level of detail. So here in the background, I'm just showing you some examples of some digital twins and how we've used it. So this was understanding movement within COVID, within my hometown here of Ålesund in Norway. And we were using telephone data, washed, clean telephone data to understand how people were moving around and then really see how we could make changes. We've been using it for response time for emergency services. We've used it for really high level mobility simulations to really understand where we are now and how we can change things in the future. We've used it for energy within solar, really understanding how we can look at new different technologies there, redesigning full cities to make sure that they can focus towards the net zero. I had to throw in the example of a World Cup bid for a ski because we're from Norway. I have to apologize, but I have to put a bit of fun in there to show you the different setups. But it just shows you the flexibility of this. A lot of our focus so far has been very much towards the route to get to that net zero. But we can't get to net zero unless we really understand the adaptations we need to take along the way. And we know that even if we act now and however fast we act, the world is changing, the world will continue to change. And as you saw from Vilnius, flooding, we can see that flooding is a really big issue, and it is an issue across the whole planet. Here we showed other different issues. So this is a digital twin of Bordeaux, and here we're showing the urban heat areas. So taking data in and understanding where heat will just be taken higher and higher and higher because of the environment and because of the setup of it, and the areas where the heat can be taken down. This is back to Norway and understanding the heavy rainfalls we get and understanding how we can deal with getting rid of that rainfall and taking it out into the oceans and understanding that. And here we skip to understanding what we're looking at with that rise of sea level. So you've got the rain coming in causing flooding, and on top of that, you've got sea level from tidal flows, from hurricanes, from all these things working together to understand these data and to really put all of this together to get a really good understanding for all of us to be able to work with this. Now, as I said before, this is really important. We can help each of the cities, but more important with this program for us is how we can scale this. This is a really big program going over many years now, and we're going to come out with some really nice results. And those results we want to make sure is completely scalable out to the bigger picture. Here I'm going to show an example where we worked with flooding in some real detail, and actually there's been artificial intelligence used within this and imagery from satellites to understand exactly where the ground is, what the ground is likely to have absorbance level, and understanding the flow of water through a complete system. And then what we can do to really mitigate those things early to get the flow of water out of the city. So here you see the drainage basin, and you see the areas where the water is flowing through the system and the currents. And actually in this situation, what was happening is all the water was being driven directly into one area, and you were going to have houses where there's 10,000 litres of water just flowing straight through those house setups. So here we can go in and we can look directly at those natural setups and see how we can change those with just some simple climate changes and putting in drainage ditches to really mitigate and get the flow moving through in a different place. So this is just some simple examples to really give you a bit of a feeling of how digital twins can be used. So what we're focusing on the scale here, but it really is about looking at the environmental and cost-effective wisdom of prioritizing prevention over pricey disaster cleanup. So if we can work forward and really do that prevention over this cleanup, that's where we're going to have the really big difference. And we see digital twins to be a massive accelerator in allowing us to do this. If we're going to fail, let's fail fast in the simulator. If we're going to succeed, let's test out many different solutions, find the solutions within the simulator and work together within all of the partners within the area we have across Europe and with all of these citizens to get this feedback and to really accelerate this process. So we are super excited to be part of this program. We're really, really pleased that we can welcome you to, so many of you, up to Norway next week. And I hope you really enjoy your time with us. And we're really so excited just to get going and to get into the next stage and to start rolling out the digital twins. So please feel free to ask questions in the session now and questions afterwards, but I will hand back over and say thank you for me for now.
Thank you, Joel. So I would like to invite Carl Philipp to complement this vision. He's chair of the board of directors at Open and Agile Smart Cities, and the floor is yours. Welcome, Carl.
Okay, thank you. Just had trouble finding the right button. Yes, my name is Carl Philipp, and I'm indeed the chair of an organization, a city network actually called Open and Agile Smart Cities. Next to the fact that I'm also working for a research organization in Belgium called IMEC, and I'm attached to the University of Brussels. My focus is on what needs to happen under the hood. So digital twins are amazing instruments, and they are perfect instruments as decision-making support systems. And as you've seen from the presentation of Joel, amazing visualizations can be made based on the data that is available in digital twins. But we focus on the data itself, what should happen. Open and Agile Smart Cities is a global network. We were born in 2015. We have 148 cities and communities, and I also have to say regions as members in over 35 countries around the world at this moment, and we're constantly expanding. So we're an international network of cities and communities, which also means that we're city and community driven. So we're not creating solutions that are adopted by cities and communities. We listen to our cities and communities and develop with them the solutions for interoperability. And our focus is on assisting cities and communities all around the world in their journey towards more digital transformation, of which the recent evolutions of digital twins is one. And we do so to create sustainable impacts. Our cities and communities are asking for digital solutions for all the challenges that they are confronted with. And we want them to have a sustainable impact with the digital solutions that they have. It's a common problem in cities and communities at this moment that they develop in innovative research projects or in funded projects, a lot of tools, a lot of results come out of those projects that end up in a drawer. And we want to avoid that together with them. And we want to avoid that to make and make the solutions that are developed interoperable. And Open and Agile Smart Cities and communities have developed the so-called minimal interoperability mechanisms to allow for replication and scaling of the solutions that are developed in projects. So what are we basically looking at? We're looking at the data layer. There's a lot happening in the city or in a local community in terms of city management, but also in sports and culture, shopping and commerce, transport and logistics, climate adaptation, and so on. All these systems that have been developed in the city level interact with each other. All of them generate a lot of data, and all of them require good data to work well and qualitative data. And therefore, a local data sharing ecosystem is absolutely necessary in order to have the right data on board, in order to have qualitative data to feed into all the systems that make a city tick, but also that feed into the decision-making systems. Good decisions require good data, and good data is not only stored in the systems of the city administrations themselves, but can also come from the outside world. So how do we do that? How do we bring together increasing amounts of useful data about the community in order to help the community work better and in order to support better decision making? Well, there are a lot of challenges. Our community has identified many challenges that they are confronted with and barriers in order to share qualitative data to use into their applications and systems. For instance, how to handle data analytics, how to ensure fair AI, how to ensure the ethical aspects in your system, how to ensure data quality, and so on. So many questions need to be tackled, and that's where the MIMs come in, the minimal interoperability mechanisms. We look at all those barriers and all those challenges for the data at the local level, and we develop mechanisms, minimal interoperability mechanisms that are agnostic, that can be used all over the world in all communities, large or small, to put in place effective local data sharing ecosystems, and that enable also solutions to be shared between citizen communities around the world. So minimal interoperability mechanisms, those are practical tools that can be used to tackle the challenges. They're minimal, and we try to avoid unnecessary complexity or time to implement. They're sufficient. They allow for sufficient interoperability, not maximal. It should be good enough to allow for the integration of systems. And the mechanisms should be clearly defined so that it's easy, they're easy to be used when a city or a community is procuring or developing new products, new services, new digital tools to use for their solutions, for their challenges. I'm not going to go into detail. There are 10 MIMs at this moment. A lot of those MIMs are absolutely crucial for digital twins to be developed. For instance, MIM 9 focuses on analytics. This is a crucial MIM for local digital twins to support decision making. So we're working on MIMs at 2 levels, actually. The MIMs themselves are global. They're also supported by 18 UN agencies. And at this moment, within ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, a template for the MIMs is being developed for the global level. But there are also the MIMs Plus. The MIMs Plus are the EU version of the minimal interoperability mechanisms. And they take into account also all types of standards, all types of mechanisms and components that have been developed at the EU level so far. How do we develop those? We interact directly with the community of, or within OWASP of cities, regions, and municipalities, but we also dive into projects that focus on developing digital solutions for specific challenges. So these are a couple of the projects that we are currently involved in. To give an example on projects that focus on climate adaptation, we're also into European projects that will start beginning next year, focusing on the creation of digital twins for positive energy districts under the EU Cities Mission goal. So looking at digital twins specifically, the European Union has defined a very ambitious strategy, Destination Earth, to create or to support the European Union's Green Deal and the digital strategy. And that actually has as ambition to create a digital twin of the whole Earth in order to support the decision making. Local digital twins, that's where we focus on in this project, but also within OWASP, is part of this Destination Earth, combining all the local digital twins in the European Union contributes largely to the objectives of Destination Earth. This is the pipeline of the projects that are currently ongoing within the Smart Cities and Community Strategy in Digital Europe at the European Union level. All these projects are also OWASP projects. And well, to point out a few, we're currently also helping to develop for the European Commission a local digital twin toolbox with open source tools that can be used by every EU community and city to create their own local digital twins based on the MIMs and with as much interoperability as possible. In one of the projects that we concluded last summer, a definition of local digital twins was finally agreed upon at European level. I'm not going to read it, it's a long definition, but it contains the criteria to which local digital twins that local digital twins have to meet. And this is the model in which we are working. It's absolutely crucial to have EU data spaces and to have qualitative data in place that are interoperable. That's a second layer at the bottom, in order to create a local digital twin that makes sense for the applications on, for instance, climate change adaptation, for instance, sustainable urban planning, and so on. And together with our citizen communities, we're working on each and every one of these layers in order to have interoperable solutions that work in every context and in every local and regional authority to develop their digital solutions. We also did a mapping of the already existing local digital twins in the European Union. And as you can see, we came up with 135 working local digital twins. They come out of several European projects, but also local and regional projects. And they have a different degree of maturity. Most of the 135 digital twins are at the awareness level, which means that there is no strong analytics layer. There's a simple visualization, and it allows for basic decision making. But the further you go, for instance, the intelligent digital twins, we haven't found any example of intelligent digital twins. So there are no digital twins at this moment in the European Union that allow for autonomous operation to enable automated city infrastructure and so on and so on. But this is where the evolution of digital twins is moving towards, of course, with all the ethical checks that are needed here. To give a little bit more insight in at the technical level, what's the local digital twin toolbox that can be used by local and regional authorities in the future at the European level to create their own digital twin looks like. This is a basic sketch of the architecture. It looks quite complicated, but actually this picture here says that cities and communities have to work on a lot of components in order to have a fully functional local digital twin that actually allows for better decision making. And the next phase at the European level, this is also a focus of a lot of cities, is the Cityverse. The European Commission has an ambition to create a European version of the metaverse, not focusing on the world, the digital world, the virtual world itself, but focusing on the city, meaning the citizen, and allows citizens to take part in the local digital twin developments and contribute to better decision making at the local level, at the regional level, national level, at the European level. But this is something that will become increasingly important in the future in our European cities and municipalities. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Carl. We will take any questions to the Q&A session, but let's complete the picture with Sarah Hayes, as she's part of the Connected Places Catapult, and she's gonna tell us more about the Climate Resilience Demonstrator project. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello there. If I can just share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that okay. Okay, so I'm Sarah Hayes. I'm the engagement lead for Credo, the Climate Resilience Demonstrator, which is led by Connected Places Catapult. And I want to talk to you today about Credo. So the problem that we're facing, that we're all talking about this morning, is that we're not ready and we're not resilient enough for the future storms that lay ahead. And there's been a number of reports that have been published in the UK by the UK government setting this out. And in particular, the Committee on Climate Change has said that we have a low level of understanding of infrastructure interdependencies. And that means that our infrastructure systems are not resilient to the extreme weather events that we're going to face in the future. So Credo is looking to tackle this problem. So Credo is a climate change adaptation digital twin. It brings together data across energy, water, and telecoms networks. We've been working with Anglian Water, with BT and Openreach, and with UK Power Networks in an area in the UK. So we bring together the data about these assets, and when you bring it together into one place, you can see the connections between the infrastructure networks, and you can also start to see the interdependencies across the whole system. In Credo, so far, we've been looking at the impact of flooding, so looking at extreme weather events with extreme storms and flooding in the future. So we have flood data in our digital twin model, which sets out what future flood scenarios will look like. And so the digital twin looks at the probabilities of assets failing when they're wet, and it takes those wet failed assets and it propagates the failure across the whole system so that you can see, as a result of a storm in the future, which assets would be out of service because they're wet, and which assets will also be out of service in dry areas because they are dependent on the wet failed assets. So you can start to see the cascade of failure that can happen across the whole system as a result of extreme weather events. So a digital twin like Credo can help us think about these questions about how do we prepare for extreme weather events in the future? How can we protect the infrastructure system as a whole? Or what could we do to better respond in emergency situations if we had a live data connection in the digital twin? So it's really helping us think about these big questions around system resilience and adaptation. In Credo, we've been working with confidential asset data. So behind the scenes, we pull that data together. So when we talk about this in public, we're always using synthetic data. And we found that really helpful for telling this story in a very public way. And of course, as already mentioned today, visualizations are really important for sharing and showing what all of this looks like. So this is the kind of dashboard that an asset owner would be able to use to be able to see which of the assets out of service, the ones with the red rings around them, and how has that failure cascaded across the whole system. So they'd be able to use this kind of tool to help them prepare and plan in advance of these kind of storms happening. So the vision with Credo has always been that the asset owners would be able to look at the impact of different interventions. So for example, if you've been able to identify the most critical assets across the system through using Credo, then you'll be able to look at where those assets are and look at the kind of protections you want to put in place. So you might want to investigate what would be the impact of relocating a power substation to an area outside of the flood zone. And you would want to understand what's the cost of doing that, what's the carbon impact of doing that, and what will be the overall impact on resilience. But you'd also want to be able to investigate other interventions, such as installing backup generators or hardening defences around other assets. And you'd really want to be able to see which of those interventions delivers you the highest level of resilience at the lowest cost. And this thinking really takes us towards looking at infrastructure resilience from a systems point of view. So looking at the resilience of the infrastructure system rather than just the resilience of individual networks. So the benefits of Credo is really helping us to improve our understanding of infrastructure interdependencies, helping us to better plan for climate resilience and be able to protect our networks in advance. And also, if we have that live data connection, to improve our response to events as they happen, because we have a better picture of what's going on. Another big element of Credo has always been about how we share data across these organizations, how we bring that data together. And we've been investigating different ways of doing that. In the first phase, we looked at a centralized data sharing architecture. In the more recent phase, we've been focused on a distributed data sharing architecture. And that will enable us to scale Credo to other organizations, to other types of extreme weather event, and to other sectors. And of course, another benefit is really in being able to demonstrate that connected digital twins can help us adapt to climate change. It's difficult to put a number on these benefits to be able to actually value resilience. So we asked Frontier Economics to carry out a study for us, and they looked at the possible of using a tool like Credo over the period between now and 2050. And the numbers that they came up with were in the range of 80 to 186 million pounds, and that's just for surface water flooding. So if we were to expand this to other types of flooding, other types of extreme weather, wind and extreme heat, I think we're looking at a very significant number. The idea with Credo is that at the moment we're starting to expand into extreme heat. So we have some funding from the regulators in the UK, the water regulator and the energy regulator, to start looking at how assets will behave under extreme heat conditions and to model that. We're also very keen to expand into transport to really get that whole system view across the infrastructure system. And we're looking for innovation funding to take it further into the transport space. So far we've been funded by Innovate UK, and the project is led by Connected Places Catapult. And I think with all of these projects, it's very clear that it's never driven by one organisation. It always is a collaboration across many organisations. And Credo has been going now since 2021. And every time we put together this slide, it's great because we're able to add a few more contributors to Credo. And that's really what we aim to do over time. We really want to scale Credo across sectors, across geographies, and to add more people into this. We share a lot of what we do on the Digital Twin Hub. So if you're not already aware of that, then it's an international community. So go and have a look. There's lots of information about digital twins there. We share our progress about Credo. And in particular, there's the Credo network. So there's a QR code there that you can sign up to for further information about Credo. So do get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for this overview about Credo. Very interesting, and definitely the power of collaboration is key to move things forward. So let's now jump into the Q&A. We have one question for Joel. How do digital twins integrate socioeconomic vulnerabilities in their predictions? If you could answer this one.
There's a very good question, quite a tricky question, but the truth of the matter is that the solutions are only as good as the data coming in. So what is very, very important about the data coming in is it's very, very transparent. We all need to be very open about what the data is and where it's coming from. And then, of course, we need to look at different scenarios and different setups, and we need to use the experts to come in and put in the data and put in the information behind that. And then we can go in and test that. The other thing that is very important with digital twins is, of course, a lot of the simulation work done in the background behind a digital twin is based on mathematical algorithms. Now, mathematical algorithms are actually very, very good and very powerful and can solve a lot of the solutions for you, but they will never be perfect to real life. And that's why actually bringing in real sensors from what happens in real life and understanding how people are reacting and how people are changing is really, really important to get those proper good simulation solutions. And I can give you an example of this. I mean, lots of people look at mobility, and there's a huge amount of simulation done around mobility about how people move. Now, when you talk about people, people don't follow the standard rules and regulations of mathematics. They suddenly decide that they got halfway to the shop, forgot something, and want to go back home again, and things are slightly different. So what you need to do is you actually need to bring in the real sensors and actually use this to help us to learn and help the machines to learn why people do react in different ways from how you'd expect them to act day in, day out. And the more and more we can do this, the better and better we can get the simulations to be. However, we never need a simulation to be perfect. It would be ideal to have a simulation to be perfect, but actually get to gain real insight. Having simulations which can give us ideas and help us to lead us into new directions is really what is key for this to take us forward. And as we heard just from the last couple of speakers as well, it's also about bringing these silos together. So bringing the information from all of these different areas together and being able to see how they interact and gain the learnings from that. And often the learnings are much greater from the interactions than they are from the individual component of one silo. So actually being able to put all that together is very important for us. So I've talked about a number of different things there. I hope I've given some high-level answers to that, but it is a tricky thing, but it's about working very much together with where the data is coming from, working very much with what the variables is within that, making sure this is open and then allowing machines to learn more and more from our real interactions and not just basing it on pure simulation mathematical models, but actually bringing real life learnings.
Thank you, Joel. I think that was a nice answer. We can continue with a question from Enrique Salinas from ES News. He mentions it was recently learned that the largest glacier in the world broke off in Antarctica. With global warming, it is likely that the ocean will increase. It could be that some cities in the world disappear. How can it be avoided or warned with this project? This is an open question, so I don't know if anyone maybe wants to answer from their perspective.
I can give sorry, I'll let somebody else go.
Yeah, so I'm happy to take that one. I think the point here is when we use digital twins and when we share information across different organizations, we're just increasing the amount of information that people have and awareness that people have. So it's a coordination thing where people can bring the right information together to be able to understand, okay, when is it that certain cities will disappear? When do people need to be warned in advance? I think the root of all of this is all about information sharing and making sure that people have the right information to make decisions, and that information trickles down to the right people. I think that's really very much at the root of all of this.
I think I could just add in as a quick part, Sarah, I think that was a really good response. But I think what was really nice with digital twins is you can test out things really fast. So things are changing. We don't know exactly what the actual levels of the sea level is. We've got predictions and they're changing all the time. But digital twins allow us just within a few seconds to say, what will happen in this scenario? What will happen in this scenario? So as we're getting more and more data in, we can be really, really fast at prediction and see, okay, we just done a study on, for example, the city of Swansea in the UK, and we actually saw a sea level rise in Swansea isn't going to be a problem. Where we've looked at another city and where we see that half the city is covered, and I won't say the city because they will worry everybody, but we looked at another city where another city was covered hugely with just a few meters. So it really, really depends on that. But being prepared and being one step ahead and understanding that and having those results and being able to make decisions based on fact is really what is key here. So, and those digital twins allow us, everybody, to have a good understanding of that fast so we can react faster.
Yes, and also I think a point that you made earlier is around the visualization piece, because it helps to communicate. I think digital twins are an excellent communication tool when they're used in the right way to show people what certain scenarios will look like in the future. Because sometimes you really need to bring it to life for people to see what the future looks like. And I think digital twins are a really good way of being able to do that. And there are different media you can use, but actually painting that picture of what the future looks like so we can act accordingly now is really important.
Thank you so much for your answers. Definitely a great communication tool. We have another question from the audience, a very good one on replicability. To which extent your introduced digital technology solutions are flexible to be applied in other territories that have experienced extreme weather condition effects recently? For example, to assess the most heavily affected territories by floods in other parts of Greece, not covered by the territory in the resist, Italy, Emilia-Romagna, or Slovenia, just to name a few in the recent months. This is an open question for any of you.
I've spoken a lot, but I can give you some responses from our side. And please, somebody else cut in if you want to. But one of the things we're very, very keen on this project is to make sure we don't want one-off solutions. When we're looking at flooding, the whole systems need to be built on the idea of the fact that they can be copied and pasted to use directly to other places. So the data for the height map data for the terrain, for example, is very, very important to bring that in, but not make that as a basis for the simulation for that one piece, but make it that they can be altered and changed for any setup you're bringing in. And then you can bring in all of the levels. But the whole point in making this transferable is that you can quickly make your baseline digital twins. And with the technology we're using, we can put together a new visual digital twin in just a few days. And if you come up to Alderson next week, we'll show you how this works a little bit. But we can put this together very, very fast, so we can actually take it over. And that's one of the big limiting factors in the past, is how quickly can you create your base digital twins. So we can create those very, very fast. And then we overlay and we use the same technology and the same solutions to say, okay, let's bring in your data. Your data is slightly different, or it might be slightly different for the different setups, but then you can bring that over. And that means it's repeatable. And we're very much not going to focus on just trying to make one demonstrator for one city, but it's the whole point that we can make it for all of these cities together, and then it can be repeated again and again and again. And that means that within using it within other regions within Greece should be very straightforward.
And to add on with Credo, so the idea with Credo is that it could be used and replicated in other countries. So it would require the climate and weather data being plugged into Credo, and also the data about infrastructure assets. And then you're able to run the Credo model for different areas. The question there really is about the quality of the information. So being able to be assured of what the quality is, so that you're putting the right information into the model to be able to then inform what the right predictions are. So that's the approach that we've been taking in Credo, and we would always be keen to try it out in other areas. There will always be some localization that's very specific to particular areas, but taking an approach where you can plug in data and plug in and plug out models, I think is really important.
Maybe to add from my perspective, the interoperability is crucial here. So solutions that are being developed should also adhere to certain standards, open standards, and open software components. The problem is that in governments, the digital architecture and infrastructure is not the same anywhere. So a lot of new developments will need to be done at the local, regional, and even national level in order to make sure that there's a future-oriented, interoperable environment in place. And that's also where the links that I try to explain are coming in. But I'm sure that also in this project in Resist, the focus on openness and standardization for smart communities comes into play.
Thank you, Carl. And maybe you can continue with the next question, because it's about what kind of data from the local authorities do we need for this transferability of digital twins? Some satellite, drones, GIS data. Can you give us maybe some insights into this one?
Any data, actually. And it's crucial when focusing on a digital twin that you do not only focus on the data that can actually help in visualizing the challenges and the solutions that are at hand, but that you have an environment in place and an architecture in place that allows for any type of data to be plugged in. And data from local authorities, yes, that's one part of the data that is necessary, but it's not sufficient to only have access to the data sets of local authorities. You also need data sets from other levels of government, from the private sector, and even from citizen science, for instance. Combining all those available data sets allows for more granular and more targeted, focused possibilities to visualize potential scenarios, predictions that allow for solutions. So anything should be in focus. wherever it comes from satellites, drones, cameras, and so on and so on. Even historical data is crucial here.
And if I can also add to that, the security angle. So sometimes when you bring together data from different sources and you create that big picture view, you don't always want to share that big picture view with everyone. There are reasons that some data about critical national infrastructure should be kept secure and confidential. So when developing a digital twin, it's very important to have the right level of security from the start. Secure by design is the phrase that people use. But it's important for building trust across the parties who are involved in developing the digital twin and using and benefiting from the digital twin, is being able to demonstrate that you've got the right layers of security throughout the digital twin, so that it isn't a case that all data has to be open. That's not always, there's good reasons for some data to be open, but there are very good reasons for some data to be shared in a secured way. So it's making sure that we have the right processes in place to protect that data. And whilst different projects will have different layers of security, I do think we can share our approaches to security and still keep data secure. And I think, this is part of the interoperability piece, that we need, it is not the case that we all need to be reinventing the wheel with each digital twin project. We can share our approaches to making data secure and to being interoperable across projects. And for us, for me, that is all part of a bigger data sharing infrastructure that we need to develop. It's an actual piece of infrastructure that we need to enable these digital twin projects to flourish.
And I think the security issue here is a really, really important one. And I completely agree with you, Sarah, on that it is important that we share our processes and the way we do this. And we look at this as a total solution rather than trying to all reinvent the wheel. From the very basic points from the question there about how you bring in data and what data you need, the really interesting idea here is it's very, very scalable. So you can start off with very low-level data, which is openly available across the whole globe, to get together your basic digital twin from your height map data, where your buildings are, where your road networks are. And these are things which can be found very, very open source and very, very easily, very, very quickly to create that. And then as you find the levels of detail and even some of the things you want with security, you can build that up through the system. And then you can decide what levels you want to be open and what levels you want to be closed through the system. But you can very, very quickly, so when you're talking about what data you need, and you were asking about GIS data and data, things like this, to create a quite good resolution digital twin base map of any region, like the region we were talking about in Greece or anything like that, can be done very, very fast from open available data we already is available to everybody, basically.
Thank you so much for your answers. We have one final question that maybe you can answer briefly before we jump into the second part of the session, in which we will hear what the regions are doing on the ground with digital solutions. So maybe Carl, Philip, you mentioned about local digital twins. Are you taking into account the training of municipal technicians in the use of digital twins? Training?
Absolutely, this is a crucial aspect. I myself am a practitioner. I've worked in local government for 18 years, so I know how crucial it is to get civil servants to the right level of expertise. So in this case, in the case of local digital twins, and I'm mainly talking about the European level, we have a platform in place that's called Living in EU. Living in EU is an initiative by the European Commission and the Committee of the Regions to bring together all 84,000 EU municipalities, cities and regions. And one of the objectives of Living in EU is actually provide civil servants of those municipalities with training on local digital twins, how to use them, to make them aware of the importance of data, qualitative data, of other digital tools, and so on. And also in every project that is being launched at the European level on the creation of local digital twins, there's a work package, at least on advancing the skills of civil servants, but also of decision makers. It's also important that decision makers at the political level in our local and regional authorities are skilled in knowing what contribution that all the tools can bring to their decision making. So it is an absolutely crucial aspect, and it's being recognized in every project. And as I said, together with networks such as AREN, but also ENO, the European Network of Living Labs, we create targeted training modules for employees of local and regional authorities to use and to advance their skills in this matter.
Thank you, Carl. Well, with this, we are going to jump into the second part of the session to listen the regional representatives. We will start with Xavi Jort from Catalonia. He's R&D manager in Heights. The floor is yours, Xavi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess that you are, okay, let me put in presentation mode. Okay, you are all seeing the presentation. Okay, I'm representing here the Catalonia large scale demonstration of the project. I will explain a little bit what we are doing in these digital solutions. In our case, the local partners of the project, it's a couple of research institutions, 2 universities working on different aspects of the emergency management. You will see that we apply digital solutions to weather-related emergencies. And then there is Heights, that is a small company working on early warning systems. And then we have also the regional civil protection and 2 municipalities which are the pilots of the tools that we are developing. In a second phase, there is also a replication phase that we will test these things that we are testing and developing in Catalonia in our 2 twinning regions that are the Baixo Alentejo in Portugal and the Puglia in the south of Italy. Okay, our main challenges that we identified is that we are facing more extreme and more frequent weather-related hazards due to climate change, floods, in our case, particularly flash floods, forest fires, heatwaves, droughts, and well, we want to have better tools to deal with them. Also, we want to improve the prevention preparedness and the coordination in the disaster risk reduction, both at all the different levels, so local, but also regional and national. We also link it to the training. We also want to reskill the civil protection authorities and first responders with training and different exercises. And we want to increase the participation of citizens in all this process about emergency management. So in our case, the digital solutions are focused on developing or improving early warning systems and decision support systems to manage those weather-induced emergencies that we are already facing. I mean, it will get worse with climate change, but it's a thing that we are already facing. We are having strong flash floods, strong heatwaves, and more often weather-related hazards. So it's a thing that it's not anymore in the future. It's a thing that we are already facing, and with what our focus in this case is not on the mitigation actions, long-term mitigation actions. In this case, is the application of digital solutions to better deal with what we are already facing now and try to switch from a reactive way of management, that is the typical way that we do something when we see the impact, to a proactive. So we can trigger some mitigation actions in advance to lower the impact of those emergencies. So if we know half an hour, 1 hour before that a storm can impact some specific places on a city or some assets, we can trigger some mitigation actions so that to reduce the impact on those. We also want to consider to have a more inclusive framework to consider different vulnerable communities and their needs. So not only, let's say, critical infrastructure and this typical high-level impact, but also the different communities and different vulnerable people. And improve preparedness, awareness, communication, training, etc. And this we will apply at a local scale with very local warnings, and also play with this multi-level coordination. Here there are some screenshots of the tools that we are developing and testing. They are focused mainly on civil protection authorities and different agencies related with with emergency management. So what they first want is to have this information coming from different places in a single place. So information from weather agencies, water agencies, traffic, emergency units, emergency calls, etc. So everything in a single place. So it's better for them or easy for them to have a quick understanding of the situation. Then warnings on different areas, critical elements, etc., and the link with these actions that they want to trigger. We are applying this in the first stage at those two cities, Tarrasa and Blanes, that are our pilots. But then there is a second phase of replication over all other cities in Catalonia and on our twinning regions of Portugal and Italy. And of course, we tackle the different aspects that we have been discussing about. In our case, for example, it's very critical the data protocols and confidentiality, etc. So the security on data is a strong aspect in our case. And also in our case, it's very focused on real-time data. So we are also tackling historical and past events to learn from, but in our case, it's also very focused on real-time and management of the emergencies. And that's a quick view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Xavi, for this overview. If you have any questions for Xavi, please write them in the chat and we will take them to the Q&A. And let's continue with Anna Munk from the... Welcome, Anna.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to present the work that we do in the Danish work package of Resist. I'll just share my screen here. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. It's a complex portfolio of activities that we do, so I will focus on the development of extended reality, especially augmented reality. With the partners, VIA University College, Central Denmark region, and Aarhus University, we will be working on extended reality as a tool to support citizens and stakeholder involvement in climate adaptation. And my name is Anna Bonven, and I work at the Central Denmark region and facilitates the work across the Danish partners in Resist. So we will focus on augmented reality to build stronger local ownership and co-creation in stakeholder involvement, knowledge dissemination, and governance processes in the municipalities involved. Working with augmented reality and extended reality, we find that it allows the users to stay connected to the real world. Climate adaptation can be really difficult to communicate as the benefits are often long-term, and much like an insurance, we need to be prepared because we already know a lot about what we will face in the future. Therefore, to be able to show the added values and the green potentials in climate adaptation is a really considerable strength of extended reality, and to show how we make synergies and make the most of large investments in climate adaptation. Augmented reality allows for visualization and overlay of climate-related data, such as rising sea levels and other effects of climate change that we already face and experience in Denmark along the coasts. They can be directly linked to the user's own surroundings. And this can make the effects of climate change more tangible and more explicit, also based in the local context. Augmented reality generally requires less specialized equipment, as most people today already own and carry around their smartphones that are capable of supporting augmented reality applications, making it much easier to engage a wider audience. And this is essential to consider to make solutions part of a social resilient transition as well. By bringing the effects of climate change and the potential solutions into people's immediate physical environment, augmented reality can promote a higher level of engagement than more traditional, less immersive methods. A goal in the project is to investigate the use of augmented reality solutions in climate adaptation processes and its impact on stakeholders' awareness and support. And this will be carried out by the partner Aarhus University. We collaborate with Danish municipalities to support their existing or planned projects and strengthen the involvement of stakeholders using augmented reality. We are working in 3 localities that will test the use of extended reality in different ways and settings. In 2 of the municipalities, augmented reality will support stakeholder involvement in projects on landscape and urban planning. One case will focus on the need to change the land use of an area in risk of flooding from the sea, where augmented reality will be used to visualize the consequences and potential solutions, as the municipality wishes to increase awareness and motivation of the local citizens affected by the project, as well as the risks. We also hope to show an urban scenario where citizens are invited to be a part of the design and decision-making process, where the technology can show the impact on the local environment as a tool for co-creation and visualization. Also part of the Danish activities, we will establish 2 demonstration houses in full scale that will showcase adaptation measures on building scale. That means constructing houses that are resilient towards climate change and extreme events. This may include houses on poles or amphibious houses, also known as floating houses, that can move with the water levels. So beyond building climate resilient houses, we will innovate further, focusing on sustainable materials in what we choose to build with, as well as the local context. So we are doing a series of workshops to collect both expert and local knowledge that will become a part of the design of the demo houses. Extended reality will also support the dissemination and narrative of the demo houses based on a more touch and feel, or beyond the more touch and feel of having the opportunity to go into these demo houses. And we hope to raise awareness on how to create resilient coastal regions where added value is considered as part of the design. We're very excited to show you more throughout the project, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anna. Let's complete the picture from the regions with Anne from Vesterålen. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much, and I would appreciate it if you could share my presentation, Patricia. Vesterålen is the northernmost region of the resist regions, and we're really excited to be part of this very important project. Vesterålen, as it says on the screen, is located on the coast of Norway, 200 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. And we consist of 5 municipalities with over 30,000 inhabitants. And we live on many islands, and right off the coast is one of the world's richest fishing grounds. And the main industries are naturally, of course, therefore, fisheries and aquaculture. And this is the reason why I think people live in northern Norway, but why we've lived here for thousands of years, and why we really would like to go on living here in the future. And if you could switch, Patricia. Next slide is about that we're vulnerable because of sea level rise the ocean that surrounds us are well known for its massive biodiversity, and increased sea temperature may cause severe changes like shifting water currents, unstable fish stock migration, heavy algae growth, and so on. And also, increasing in extreme weather, it could also potentially be a big threat. So this is kind of why we have entered the RESIST project. And at the moment, we are doing much of the technology development through one of the partners in Museum Nord, which is a museum foundation of 21 museums in northern Norway. And Museum Nord is also the home of the Gaia Vestron initiative, which is a research and technology initiative that aims to create more environmental and sustainable local communities, where the focus is on young children and young people, as shown on this image. And we also plan on building a container museum, a signal building out of discarded containers from the fishing industry, recycled concrete, and so on. And the research project is an environmental and history project where innovation, research, and technology development are at the forefront. And as we will see in the next slide, the technology development, we are trying to, or creating several prototypes where we are creating a digital twin of the whole of Vestfold and the islands and the coastal area. And this will be central in the new museum I just mentioned. And the digital twin will be able to show both live information from land and sea, from companies, public sectors, and we can experience also the historical development in this area. And we will also use this model to visualize knowledge graphs in real time and so on. And this is the first in this image. We see the first of in total 3 models, and the next model will open to the public in Vestfold and the rest and tourists coming to visit us in May next year. And that will be a much bigger model where we project information with projection mapping and also using AR and VR technology. And we are also developing other digital tools for the local community. Central to our initiative is the development of a digital environmental contract for the local community. And we want this to be measurable in different versions for businesses, the private sector, the public sector, etc. And we are wondering, is it possible for a local community to unite around defined climate and environmental goals? And how do we do that? And this work has been, just shift to the next slide, please, have been, yes, here we can see a core group of people from Gaia Vestfold that has been working on this digital environmental contract in a co-creation process of the last 2 years. And this core group consists of people from all parts of the local community, from the fishing industry, from children to people in the public sector, contractor industry, and so on. And they have, with the use of the UN sustainability goals that you see up on the walls there, have decided what kind of how this contract will be for us. And in the next slide, we will see one of the households that are at the moment testing this environmental contract in a web-based app solution. There are at the moment 29 families and households in Vestfold that are now testing this contract. And they're testing both functionality and usability. And next step for us will then be to move on to the business sector and the organization and to test that. And that will be the activity for next year. And this here we can see from the sea perspective the Western Islands. And we'll also be developing digital models of the sea, also to show the increase, how the increase in sea level rise will affect the community, and also how the fisheries will be affected. And that is one of the main activities in the RESIST project. And as part of the RESIST project, we are also working on digital tools that the municipal planners can use to plan for the future. And we are together with with the Youth Council in Vesterålen, also developing digital tools that can enable young people to take part in the planning of the development of the region in Vesterålen. And this is a really exciting work that we're very happy to do that as part of the RESIST project. And I will end with our last activity that has to do with sharing of knowledge. And we will share knowledge and create synergies between European regions. And the main activity planned so far is an Arctic Summit as part of the event Bodø 2024. The European Capital of Culture will be here in Northern Norway next year. So I will hope to see you all in Vesterålen for the Gaia Arctic Summit, which is held in June next year. Yes.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much for this overview. And okay, I have a question for you, Anne, before we move on to other questions. And it's really exciting to see all the activities that you are doing to engage with different audiences. And I was wondering, why are children and young people so important when it comes to climate awareness and resilience?
Well, it started for us with, we come from a museum and we did a sea exhibition. And as part of this exhibition, we presented it. We had many visits from young people in the museum, and they expressed this massive concern for the future because of climate change. So that's why we started all this development that I have presented to you now, because we experienced that the young people down to 5-year-olds crying in the museum wanted us to do something. So that's why we have, as part of what we're doing, have co-creation processes with the young people in every part of this development. So the prototypes, the digital prototypes that I've shown you, then we have school visits that come and say what they want. How do they see the models, and what do we need to improve? And of course, the children are going to. This is the climate change. It will affect them the most. That's also the reason why it's so important for them.
Thank you, Anne. We have a question from Veselin Forestbank for Xavi. What kind of technologies will you use to forecast droughts in Terrassa, and could the technology be used in not urban environment? As we in Forestbank have project of reforestation in Mora de Ebro, and the drought in the last years will be challenging us with watering our new plants. Also, if you need more space for testing, feel free to contact us in Forestbank. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, I mean, droughts in our case is not a local hazard. So in Terrassa, as local, we'll tackle more flash floods and forest fires. Droughts will be more at general level in all the region. And we will rely mainly on Copernicus data from the European Drought Observatory, from IFAS, the European Flood Awareness System, that some of the data that it provides also can be used not only for floods, but also for droughts. So we will build on top of some products of the Copernicus Emergency Management System, IFAS and EDO, European Drought Observatory. And from those, we will derive some thresholds and warnings on different regions and different areas of the region. So the data will be mostly larger scale data, so not local data, but it could be applied, I mean, not only on urban, also in rural areas. So it will be good to contact you and see if there are synergies between the two projects.
Thank you, Xavi. We have another question from Manuela Frete. It's a question for Anne. Are there any plans to replicate what is being done in Vesterålen in other cities in Northern Norway? If yes, happy to collaborate.
Well, we would love to collaborate. And we think that the reason why we're doing this is not just because we would like to develop an environmental contract for Vesterålen, but we are testing the technology and the solutions in Vesterålen. But we would love, I mean, the reason why we're doing this is about collaboration. So yes.
Yes, this is one of the missions of RESIST, no? The replication, not only with the pairing regions, but also across the region, that we can scale up and replicate what it proves to be successful and useful for the future. Maybe one question for Anna Munk. How important is the co-design element of building flood resilience in central Denmark? And how are you doing it?
I mean, it's central, absolutely, for how we work. Mainly, or firstly, for the way the consortium was built. We want to work across researchers, industry, businesses, civil society, and public authorities to bring all these to the table and bring more better results from this, as we can support each other and have different perspectives within the challenges. But when we have to implement on the ground, we also need the citizens that are actually living in the local settings and know what kind of challenges, but also what kind of potentials there are for the different solutions. So they need to be brought on board right from the beginning of the process. So it's not when we're ready to implement, but when we have sort of a challenge, they should already be brought on board. And this is where these sort of technologies can really support, because they can be a dialogue tool for the collaboration, as it's very technical sometimes within the how to handle water and where does water go. But the combination of the local knowledge and the more technical can be brought together in using augmented virtual reality. And when citizens become aware of these challenges, they can more easily be part of the solution as well. So building the local ownership is key, and will bring about better solution, I'm sure.
Thank you, Anna. If you have any other questions for the speakers, please feel free to write them in the chat. Otherwise, I think we covered a very good an interesting topic. We have one final question from Enrique Salinas for Anne. How committed is the government to this project, with Norway being a pioneer in combating global warming?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? How involved is the government? Or
yeah, committed is the government to this project, let's say, to this mission, with Norway being a pioneer in combating global warming?
We have received some fundings from Norwegian government, and so we are moving on now with the big collaboration, hopefully with Norwegian government next year. But so far it looks hopeful, and at the moment also the collaboration with the local community, the local government, is maybe even more important at this stage, because we see that there is a need to raise awareness in Norway, and also more in northern Norway when it comes to climate change, because we have done opinion polls as part of the RESIST project, showing that only 40% of the population in the Vesterålen region believe in the climate science, and think that and believe that climate change is man-made. So there's also a need to also raise the awareness, and so we're hoping for a closer cooperation with both local and regional and national government in the future.
Thank you, Anne. And to wrap up the event, I would like to thank all the speakers for the contributions. I think it's been very, very interesting. And also to the participants for the active participation and the questions. And at the end of the day, this is the reason why we are doing this today. It's to raise awareness, because there are big challenges ahead, but we also have solutions, not only digital solutions that we cover today, but also understanding the social part, which I think also everyone mentioned it today. So combining the efforts, no, from different sectors, from different perspectives, and work all together to get closer, no, to adaptation solutions. It's going to be key. So thank you so much for joining today. And the conversation just kicked off. So I know that some of you asked for contacts to continue with the future interviews with some of the experts, which is great. And we would love to meet you soon. Thank you, and have a good day ahead. And keep in touch, please. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.